What's up, everybody? It's Mark Parson, former NFL cornerback of the Houston Texans and New Orleans Saints. Listen, guys, the DB Network, we got an incredible guest, one of my former teammates, one of my mentors, the guy I looked up to when I played ball, Bernard Pollard. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Man, we're doing great, man. It's great having you on here. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem, man. Let's get after
Excellent.
it. You said I was
All
your
right.
mentor, man. So you know what I mean, like that's big. That's big, I guess.
Oh, man, I looked up to you, and I just want to share a little bit more about you. So everyone, before we get into, his story to help you guys out, I was a young fella when I came to the Houston Texans. I was a rookie. And, when Bernard came from the Chiefs, I looked up to you, man. Like the intensity that you brought to the game, you were a student of the game. It was like you flipped on a switch when you got on that field,
Right.
Literally, we'll talk about the story. I've seen you take on the whole offensive line in practice by yourself. It was incredible. But the cool thing about you, man, as intense you were on the field, man, you were a great teammate. Like when you got off the field, you were laughing. You're a joy to be around. So, we're going to get into that, but I just want to, again, let you know I appreciate you for coming on here. Our goal is to help as many young guys as possible, parents, people who are aspiring to get to the next level. So I'm looking forward to hearing your journey today.
Man, well, hey, this should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I was that fire, but at the same time, like you said, I think being a good teammate was something that I'd always was built in to me, taught, and something that I definitely embraced and loved.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's take it all the way back, BP.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take it all the way back to Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah, boy, I want to say India, brother. Hey, 269.
Let's take it back to Fort Wayne. All right, so high school, man. Just tell me, like, matter of fact, how did you get into football? How did you know that this is what you want to, embark upon?
Well, one of the biggest things for me, Parse, is growing up. My father played football. My uncle played football. My father ended up having, him and my mother. My mom got pregnant with my older sister, so that's what pulled him away from the game to be able to. He needed to go work, and my uncle was a really good football player. Ended up, he had to work out with the Dallas Cowboys. This is no lie. Had to work out with the Dallas Cowboys. He's in the airport and he had cocaine in his bag. He had bags of cocaine in his carry-on, and the police end up catching wind of it, and he ended up fighting all the officers in the airport, and that literally destroyed his playing career and his opportunity. So that's the crazy thing. But my father always pushed me. I was actually groomed to be a quarterback coming up, and played quarterback from a very young age, coming all the way up to middle school or high school, and I end up messing my shoulder up. So, playing in Fort Wayne, man, as other cities and states do, we had Pee Wee League, we had Metro, which was predominantly black, we had Powell, which had some blacks sprinkled, a couple blacks, but predominantly white. But playing in Metro with all the talent in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I was homeschooled all the way to the 7th grade. So I didn't play middle school football till the 7th grade year, my 7th grade year, going into public school. And man, going all the way to high school, my freshman year, I ended up messing up my shoulder. I took a hit, and that moved me to corner, and then I ended up eventually moving to safety. But that was my journey, man. Like looking back, it's funny that you asked this question, but we were in St. Louis, and for my daughter's volleyball tournament this past weekend, 3-day tournament, and we're in a hotel, and I'm just sitting there watching. I'm watching NFL Life, and I'm watching Marcus Allen. I'm watching all these other cats, and that's what I did at a young age. You see so many kids watching highlights now. They're on YouTube watching all this stuff. I watched the life. I watched NFL films. I just watched players, turn that switch on. I watch players be good teammates. I watch coaches coach and develop and teach players. And that's what I grew up on. And that's, what helped me to be who I was on the football field at a young age, all the way up to the pros. And as I coach and train now, that's all me, man.
I was watching a highlight of you in high school, and that physicality that you bring to the game, Is that just natural, or how did you learn to do that? To bring that to the game, to your game?
One of the biggest things, Parse, for me, playing a game of football, there's so much that has happened in my life, right? Where just disappointments everywhere, family breakdown, everywhere, father not being present, or if, being there but wasn't present, the fights and everything else. I tell a lot of people, it wasn't until I've always been a hitter, but it wasn't until like my sophomore year, where, for me, it was a fight every Friday night with me and my father. We would turn the film on right after my father recorded my games, and we would come in and we would watch, and he would go, where were you doing right here? And I'm looking like, well, the play said, for me to do this. And he would be like, that's not what you're supposed to do. And we would, the living room would be cleared out, and literally it will be us throwing hands. And so from freshman, sophomore year, I took, and just playing the game, period, I took a lot of my anger, what was going on in the home. I was pulled away from my mom, who moved to Georgia. The court system pulled me away from my mom, and that's how I ended up with my dad. So I would have been playing football in Georgia, but since the court system, my mom moved 100 miles outside of the state of Indiana, and she broke a court ordered agreement that she didn't know about. So that's what landed me with my father, and obviously playing football in Indiana. It was just that. So taking that anger, all of those, I tell my players all the time, that was so much for me. And where I was able to take my anger out, obviously I had to fight my father back, or it was either get beat down, which I got beat down my freshman, going into my sophomore year. And then now I started to pick up more weight. So now I started to win that fight. But it's just one of those things. And I'm not happy about it, but that was my life. That was my journey. Right. And so, being able to take all of that frustration out of what took place and every situation and how things happen, I was literally able to go and channel all of that in the games and put all of that into my hits. And so, I don't know if you remember, but I tell a lot of people, when it came down to game week, every day I had lower and I had upper body. Every day I would switch, from lower and upper body, right? But every day I power clean. Why did I power clean? Because it was a full body workout, and it helped my explosion when I went to go hit. So, literally, man, so from Friday nights or going to college, playing on Saturdays, and then going to the NFL, I kept that same routine and did it all the time. And that's what helped me, be able to hit. But another thing, being able to hit people and seeing a grown man fear me, right? That right there is what I just, that fueled me. And I tell my son all the time, look, like, dude, like at the end of the day, a lot of people, especially in today's football, they don't want to be hit. You hit them, you're going to shut them down. But, the rules has changed too. But at the same time, you still can be physical and scare people.
Man, so what I got from that, and I'm taking notes basically, man, you were able to take a visible negative situation and turn it positive. Football was an outlet for you, right?
Yeah.
You're able to take that, what some would see or most would see as a negative energy, negative situation, and put that into something positive that was able to change your life as a young man and for your future family.
Right.
So I think that's extremely positive, and that's part of the reason I really like football. I remember when I had family situations in my life, I didn't know that I was doing it, but looking back on it, I was doing it. So if I had something that, got me emotionally, it was seen as negative, I would go work out. I would go run on this hill. We had this very steep hill, and I would go, I would be on there crying. I'd get upset with my parents, or my father divorced my mom, and I would just go straight to the hill.
Yeah.
And work out and try to get better for football. So, man, I think that's a great lesson for young fellas, because some people can take that negative energy and then turn it into a downward spiral.
Right.
Go do something that's destructive instead of productive.
Exactly.
So I think that's a great lesson.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I picked up on was those NFL lives, because I remember catching a Jerry Rice one, and then it just showed, Jerry Rice, all he does is run. He runs up hills, and I'm like, oh man, like I'm so glad I saw that, because
Right.
now I know like what Jerry Rice does. Like, not that the hill was all he did, but as a kid, to get even that little piece of information on Jerry Rice was like enough for me to at least take that step. So you say you power clean, and I never power cleaned until I got to college, and I definitely regretted that.
Right.
But what did your workout routine, or what you decided to do in terms of workouts come from? Did that come from father? Did that come from like your strength coach in high school, or someone that you met along the way?
So that's the crazy thing, D. Like, so when you look at lifting weights, my father and my uncle were bodybuilders. So they played football and were bodybuilders. So we had a gym in Fort Wayne. It was called Pollard's Fitness, and it was over going towards New Haven, and so we had the gym. So they lifted weights, and I would go in there and I would lift. My father always had weights and things of that nature. So I always knew what to do, right? Like I was my senior year, I know that's literally going to stop him from doing, talking, being any kind of way. And I've carried that on from a young age all the way to the pros. I would talk trash, but for me, I'm looking like, okay, my pad's gonna do the talk. I don't need, I know what I did throughout the week. I took care of my body. I got my massages. I ate right. I didn't eat sweets throughout the week. I didn't drink pop throughout the week. I had water and I ate right. Right. So like for me, I'm looking like there's no way, obviously, we can't predict the future, but at the end of the day, I'm from a human standpoint, I'm looking like I'm feeding my body. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do in a cold tub, hot tub, contrast, and doing what I'm supposed to do. They're going to feel my pain on Sunday, Saturday, or Friday. And that's exactly what happened. So, it was just the weight room just kind of helped me, and just having my father and my uncle and them having the knowledge, from put me under the bar and help me understand how to do it. That's kind of the same thing I'm doing with my sons.
So, ABP, with that being said, what it also sounds like is, I think you had the natural tools, as in DNA, pedigree, and with the mentorship from your father and their experience, would you say that was a huge help in your development process?
Well, it definitely was a help. I look at it and I look back, my father was living through me, right? Like he was vicariously living through me, right? Because it's one of those things where, as I said before, he had to stop playing football because, they had my sister, my older sister. So with that, my father my father played running back and middle linebacker. And he played semi-pro all the way till I believe he was 32, 33. So it's one of those things where I've always saw my dad working, regardless if I liked some of the things that he was doing at home or whatever it may be. I still always saw him working. I saw pads around the house, from helmets to shoulder pads. I saw him, doing those things. So that helped me, be the player that I was. So, genetically that's there. But the pushing, I can look at it and be like, okay, well, a lot of the negative things that happen, they turn out to work in my favor. And I thank God for that, because, like you said before, Pars, like some people could have taken this and been like, okay, well, this is going to be a downward spiral. I'm pissed off of what's going on at home. So I'm going to go to school and I'm gonna act the fool. I'm gonna be disrespectful to my teachers. And I went through that a little bit, but at the same time, I had a Coach Nolan, I had Coach Pruitt, those guys who literally beat me down. While I'm talking about police clubs, it will bring me in the office and beat me. And, that helped me to become who I was, because, I wasn't so much getting a lot of the loving from home. I got that father, that guidance from school. And Coach Nolan's like a father to me, who I still talk to every single day to this day at 39 years old. So, it was kind of hitting me from every area, from every angle, to be able to get that help. And once again, I just thank God, because I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't from the negative situations with my father. And I'm not going to say every situation was negative, because I had some positive. And I'm not going to say I was an angel, but at the end of the day, as my father, from Coach Nolan to Coach Pruitt to other men, Coach Bailey, Coach Land, other guys that have poured into my life and poured into my journey, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Absolutely. All right, so BP, so take us through so now you're in high school, you're developing, you're getting better, you're making these huge hits, making plays on the field. Take us through the recruiting process. So I know you went to Purdue, but how was that process for you back in the day?
It's weird, because going into my sophomore year, the middle of my sophomore year, that's when a lot of colleges really, I had letters and colleges kind of contacted me, or sending letters and questionnaires and things of the nature to kind of figure out, okay, wait a minute, where did you come from? How did you be who you are, of what we're seeing on film, right? So it's just one of those things where, for me, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to it, to be perfectly honest with you guys. Like for me, I just wanted to release anger. I just wanted to unleash on Friday nights. And I said it in high school and all the way to the pros. My goal was to go out there and put as many people as I could on a John Deere. I literally wanted them to come get you whether it was a stretcher or a John Deere. I wanted to release my pain onto you and make you hurt and feel it, right? So when I played that way, a lot of colleges, as they sent questionnaires or they talked to my coaches in high school, a lot of colleges saw me. They was like, look, man, like as big as he is and the way he's moving and how he hits, we see him as a linebacker. So for me, I'm looking like, nah, I'm not playing linebacker, you know. But I was just like, okay, I want to be a sports broadcaster because I watched NFL films. I'm looking like, okay, I love the game of football, but at the same time, I like talking. So it was like, okay, I just want to be, I want to be a broadcaster. That's all I want to do. And I studied communications at Purdue, but nevertheless, I knew what I wanted to do. At a young age with my mom, I was recording myself hitting play and record at the same time. A lot of these cats don't even understand that journey. They don't understand that struggle, you know, to be able to get not I say VHS, but to get that cassette tape to be able to record. And I was recording myself in front of with a boombox and just talking about sports and talking about life by myself, asking myself questions, answering the questions. And that's just what I did. So for me, Parse, like I really didn't look at the NFL, right? Like people were talking NFL, people were talking college, talking about how I can go and go to school for free because of my abilities. I didn't see that. I just looked at, I love football and I love just bringing pain to people. So, you know, as colleges talked, once again, they looked at me as a linebacker and I'm looking like, nah, I'm good. And they would just continue to send letters, continue to talk to my coaches. And, you know, finally, I think I got to my senior year and Coach Nolan pulled me in his office and was just like, Bernard, he's like, this right here, he's like, this can take you to places that you never, ever thought you can go. So that's when I really started to be like, okay. And so I think I took a visit to IU my junior season, if I'm not mistaken. So I took a visit to IU and they just hired Jerry DiNardo out of LSU. And so they brought Jerry DiNardo in and they took me to Assembly Hall, the basketball game, and I'm just kind of looking around. It was a whole bunch of recruits there. And I'm like, oh, snaps, this is actually pretty cool. I'm at the basketball game and I'm like, oh, but at the end of the day, I'm looking like, wait a minute. Why are we not at the football facilities? Like, why are we at a basketball game? Why are they trying to, you know, pull me in, reel me into a basketball game? But nevertheless, that was pretty cool. I ended up taking a visit to Michigan State, but I ended up going to the Nike. It was an invite-only camp that I went to, and I saw so many other cats that I would see in magazines. Ernie Sims and Lorenzo, I forget the cat out of California. He was a running back, kick returner, went to Florida State. So seeing all of these cats, I'm like, oh, snaps. Like, I'm like, dude, like, I'm here with them. I'm like, okay, everything everybody's saying is actually pretty true. Like, I'm like, this is invite only. They wanted me to come. So then I ended up going to Michigan. And that was a weird place within itself. But nevertheless, Lloyd Carr was a head coach, seeing everybody there. But then Lloyd Carr messed up and said, hey, man, we see you as a linebacker. And I'm looking like, yeah, I'm not playing linebacker, bro. So I just was like, yo, I'm done. I don't want to go on no visits. I really don't see myself leaving Indiana. And then Purdue was just like, yo, we want to get you. So they flew me in after my senior year, after our last game, flew me on a private jet from Muncie, Indiana to West Lafayette. So West Lafayette, I get there and Ohio State's playing Purdue. And I was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I clicked with the players. I clicked with, you know, the cats that still are my greatest friends to this day. And I was like, this is it. I was like, I don't want to go to Alabama. I don't want to go out west somewhere. I didn't really know what California and all that other stuff was because I just didn't understand it, didn't really see it, didn't experience it. So I was like, okay, I want to stay close to home. I knew if I was going to do this, go to college, I was only going to stay 3 years, and I was declaring as a true junior. I was going to start my freshman year and declare as a true junior. And that was the process, man. I literally had to cut a lot of people off. But once again, and for a lot of young kids, young cats that play this game, you know, today's, you know, time, man, these kids are being introduced to so much, and with the NIL and all this other stuff, they're just being exposed to so much. And going through my process, I always, my teammates, I never was a guy, I was always humble. I never was a guy who flashed whatever, talked about whatever. I knew my teammates wanted to play, but at the same time, the streets was calling their name and they went to the streets. But nevertheless, it was just one of those things where, man, I was just humble and I had fun. I took advantage of it. I never allowed them to play me. I'm like, okay, I understand this is a game. So since they're playing, I'm gonna join the game and play as well. So that was my process, man. And you know, and had a blast doing it.
You know, you said a couple things that, so I went to 4-year military and we had this running back named Brian Payton. So he was from Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne, yeah, Concordia.
All right. So all he ever talked about, hey man, I want to go to Purdue.
Yep.
I want to go to Purdue. Like the whole year of military school, at Fuma, he was like, man, I'm Purdue. So I never heard of Purdue. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. So I knew
Yep.
it was Big Ten, but I'm like, Purdue. But that was a big deal to him coming from Fort Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up getting a scholarship, a full ride to IU,
Yep.
and playing at IU. Purdue didn't offer him. But I just remember back when I was coming up in high school, I'm like, man, Purdue. So that was the first time I was exposed to Fort Wayne and Purdue. So just hearing your story, that brings back some memories. And
Yeah.
then one thing that happened to me on my visits, so I was a MAC guy. I wasn't a Power 5 guy. So Buffalo, UB, brought me in, and they just won the MAC championship in basketball. So I just remember being on my visit, and I'm like, man, I want to play ball. I want to get to the NFL. I want to have that college football experience. And I remember the guys being so, that's the basketball team over there. We went to this event, and they're like, oh, they were fanboying over the basketball team. And I was like, nah, I'm not coming here, you know. And then Coach Solis just came to. Coach Solis, great, Hall of Fame coach, leaving Nebraska, won a national championship as a player and a coach, and he was coming to Ohio University, and I was like, this is what he's building here. He plans to stay here. He
Right.
doesn't want to win and then go to a Power 5.
Right.
He's going to retire here. So that's why I chose Ohio over like UB.
Right.
Just like you said. So I wanted to play somewhere serious and it's willing to develop me to the best player I could be so I can achieve my goals. So
Yeah.
that's an incredible story that you have, man. And I think that's big time, brother.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. And the questions I'm getting is, well, I'm always just thinking about, how people's mindset at certain ages. So you seem to come into college knowing knowing where you want it to be, because a lot of kids that commit don't actually know if they want to be at or if they like that they're sponsored by Jordan, or they
Right.
like that, whatever it may be. So for you to know, that you could go all these other places and know that you wanted to go to Purdue, know that this is what you wanted to accomplish, even being 3 and done, and being able to achieve that. What was, if you could think back, what was the difference between you and the other freshmen in your recruiting class? Like, I know that the talent, there should have been a talent dispersity, but as far as readiness, as far as focus, as far as you may have seen a lot of guys don't even make it past their freshman year, because they get into so many things so quickly in college. So if you could tell us about the differences you saw between you as a freshman and maybe your freshman recruiting class, and just other people that may have been around you at that time.
Well, I think, D, when it's crazy you asked that question, man, because I think one of the biggest things for me, my focus. And, Ray Edwards and I, we both played 3 years. I started as a true freshman. Ray came in because obviously Purdue they call it DEU, Defensive End University. So, it's one of those things. We had linebackers. We had Sean Phillips. We had Kevin, and we had a couple other guys, and Ray jumped to Anthony Spencer. So we had two first round picks, and Ray was a 3rd round pick. I was a 2nd round pick. But when Ray and I stepped on campus, we looked at each other and we was like, bro, we're gonna be here 3 years, and we rolling. And I mean, so our focus was just, it was just one of those things where we went to school, went to class, did what we needed to do, never missed, didn't get in trouble. I was a guy, I didn't drink, didn't smoke. I mean, I was like, I'm one of those people where I'm not putting anything in my body. One of the big things I remember my father telling me when I was a young boy, he said, you be your own man. Just because you see somebody else doing something, you don't do what they do. Be your own man. And so that I carried that my entire life, man, my entire upbringing, through high school. You know what I mean? Like I didn't drink, didn't smoke. I didn't want to be high. I didn't want to be drunk. My boys and them, we hung out. I wasn't a partier, but we would hang out, go places or whatever. When they went to go party, I would go home. Because I was just like, okay, I'm a chill, get my sleep, play the game, whatever it may be, but I'm going to school. So I just think my focus was just different. I knew what I wanted, right? Like, even at a young age, I knew I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And going to college, I was like, okay, I know I wanted to study communications. So I wanted to get involved. And I remember Jan, my advisor, who, when, I remember going in, she was just looking like, this is perfect for you. She was like, you literally are you know what you want. She was like, this is easy. She was like, you one of the easiest ones I had to deal with because everybody else, you come in, you don't know if you want to be, in this major, or some guys go undecided for like a year or two. And I was like, no, let's go communication. I'm going to summer school. I'm doing whatever I need to do. So when I decide to come back, I always talk like that. And so I remember going my 8th grade year, and I don't know if you guys did this, but time capsules. We had to do time capsules as an 8th grader to say what we were going to be. And as I said, I was groomed as a quarterback. So, my 8th grade year, I played quarterback, and I was like, I'm gonna go to Florida State. I'm gonna be the starting quarterback for Florida State for 3 years. I'm gonna be drafted in the first round. Well, nevertheless, I end up getting an injury to my right shoulder, and I end up, going to cornerback and then playing safety. But I played 3 years and ended up getting drafted in the second round. So I was just my focus. I wasn't going to allow anybody to break that. Me being a man of my word, I wasn't going to allow anybody to break that. I knew when I stepped on the football field, I don't care competition. I didn't care who was in front of me. I had a senior in front of me as a safety. I beat him out. You know what I mean? Like, because my thing is that fuels me. If you think, and it's one of those things, when I step on a football field, if you think you're going to beat me, whether it's the mental, whether it's the physical, whatever part, if you think you're going to beat me and you end up getting the edge on me, oh, that fuels me that much more. So I remember a senior, man, I just remember beating him out, and all the cats was just like, yo, we got a freshman. We got a freshman that's coming in. And Phil Omation was my DB coach. And he was a guy, he cussed me out before games, middle of the games, and after games. No matter if I played well, I didn't really play bad. I never really had a bad game, but he would cuss me out. And I remember after he left after my freshman year, and he said, I did this for a reason. He said, you are special. He was like, you're special. And I didn't want to tell you that. I wanted to break you down, but love on you at the same time. And it was just one of the coolest things that has ever happened in my life, because that helped my career. So yeah, that's what it is, man.
Let me ask you a question, man. First of all, thank you, man. I'm learning so much about you, and just I'm taking this mental notes. So look, my question is, that coach that you just mentioned, that tough love, that tough coaching, how did you take it as a young fella?
It was hard because, like I said, when I say, and I mean everything I say, and all the guys will attest to this, I got cussed out in pregame. I took the right angles, doing what I'm supposed to do. We're literally doing like pat and go. And he cussing me out. And I'm looking like, and everybody laughing. All the seniors laughing. I was the only freshman starting. And we had a really good team my freshman year. We ended up going to the Capital One Bowl, playing Georgia and losing in overtime. But nevertheless, it was one of those things where we had, I think, 9 draft picks, out of our defense that left, 7, 8 or 9. So I was like, okay, I didn't let it faze me. I don't care what people think about me. I tell my son right now, and I tell every player that I train, who cares what somebody got to say about you? Who cares that somebody got to say that you were vocal and you were communicating? Who cares that they don't like the way that you dress? Who cares that they don't like how hard you play? Who cares? I literally, and to this day, as a grown man, I sit here in front of you guys. I don't care. To this day, I don't care. If you don't like the fact that I'm vocal when I'm at my son's game, I coach my son from the stands. You don't want to hire me as a coach? I coach my son from the stands. I know what my son needs to get to the next level. You don't. You 400 pounds. You don't know. All you can do for me is tell him how to eat. Other than that, I'm going to help him get to where he needs to go. So you hear me? You need to hear, don't hear the delivery, right? I need you to understand what's coming out of my mouth. And so that's how I was. And, it didn't, all the guys, I'm Stu Swigert to this day. Bernard, how did you sit and do that? How did you sit and take that? I'm looking like, Stu, I didn't care. I was drafted in the second round. I'm good. I played 10 years. I'm good. You know what I mean? That helped me along the way. And so having Phil Omation to turn around, having Lou Anarumo, who's the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals right now, I've had quality coaches pouring into me. Lou Anarumo I talk to him to this day. And so, for me, I'm looking like, man, like whatever's going to help me. I told you, I grew up watching NFL films. I watch coaches cuss players out. I watch players cuss coaches out. I watch players fight. I'm looking like, bro, like this is what I'm getting into. So that helped me, kind of shape me and mold me to where I wanted to go. So when I went through it, it was a piece of cake.
I've been thinking about this the other day. I take time to self-reflect, and I've noticed I've noticed a correlation between a person's ability to embrace feedback and success. Like some people, I give you feedback. I say, hey man, we got to get better. This is what I see. This is what I see and this is what I think you could do to get better. And a person be like, man, this dude's hating. Or, man, he's always on me. You always have something to say. Or the other person is like, man, appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to work on that today. And they get in the lab and they work on it.
Right.
Feedback, like be grateful for that tough coaching, man. You care about me, man. And I've noticed that even for, just in my own life, man. So I just think your attitude towards that feedback and your ability to take it and take it on the chin and improve, I think that's part of the reason of your success. You had an amazing NFL career. I know, D and I were researching your college career, and I know you were 3 and done, but good God, second round?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Crazy, man. It's crazy.
And,
I mean, and you remember Gibbs. I mean, that's who I had. And that's who, the stuff that we did before practice, bro, that stuff shaped me. I'm looking like, bro, that helped me so much because I'm looking like going to my rookie year, I got Gibbs, who I just had Filmation and Lou Anarumo. Then I got Gibbs. We hitting the bag every practice. You remember that, bro? Like just that, like that challenged you. You look like, dude, am I really here to hit the 5-man bag and to tackle this 5-man bag and to stay on his back for 10 minutes out of a 15-minute session, for Indy? Like, oh, man, it's crazy. So, yeah, it's crazy, bro.
All right, so let's talk about that. Let's go to the NFL. So, 3 years, you're done. And now you get drafted second round. You go to the Chiefs. All right. So you're with Coach David Gibbs.
Yep.
And just what's that experience as a rookie with a coach who is so hands-on, he has his own tough personality. So how was that process as a rookie? You're a rookie in the NFL.
I mean, I think one of the big things, playing the game of football was easy. To be paid to play the game of football, I was like, dude, this is icing on the cake right here. And I tell a lot of people all the time, when you get a chance to get paid doing something that you love, like, man, it is amazing. But coming into the National Football League, I had to learn real quick that it was definitely a business. I knew college. I saw some things. I knew it was a business in a sense, but this was 100% all business. Going from dorm rooms, hilltop apartments where we all still were kind of by each other, football players, we all kind of lived by each other. Now you get to the National Football League, like, hey, bro, everybody live around the city. Like, everybody not, on top of each other. Like, guys don't really live together unless you're coming in and, they put you in an apartment and, you may get an apartment with somebody. But, for me, I had to go find a house. That was my first thing, go find a house. And I'm looking like I'm living in Overland Park, Kansas on 100 and Knoll Street. And I'm looking like my commute is 27 minutes to get to, Kansas City, Missouri, because I'm living on the Kansas side. And I'm like, oh, snaps, this is real. So now when you step into, the National Football League, when you step into that locker room, you stepping in and you playing with grown men that have careers, that's negotiating contracts, that got families, wives, girlfriends, plural. And, it's just one of those things. And then I'm just keeping it real, because this is what you're exposed to. You looking like, dang, like I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, like, to have Coach Gibbs, and one thing for Coach Gibbs, like he literally, like him, he pulled me and Jared Page, and he would just pour into us. And Herm Edwards was my coach. So we had a charismatic coach that, got an opportunity to come over to Kansas City and a coach. And, for me, one of the first things I learned being in Kansas City was Herm Edwards, yeah, he the head coach, but he just the name. He don't run nothing. Gunther Cunningham had more power than Herm Edwards. So I'm learning all of this whilst trying to figure out and learn the NFL, the business side of it, and guys play because of money and this and that. And I'm looking like, oh, snaps. And Coach Gibbs is looking like, okay, you need to go take Greg Wesley's, position, an 8-year vet that they drafted me to come in and take his position. And I'm looking like, now we going to battle. And now I got to see this cat while we in camp. You got the Grim Reaper who coming around looking to cut people. So I'm looking like I'm a rookie. I know I'm good, but everybody's saying, hey, man, you're going to see guys, you're going to be holding conversations with dudes. And literally the Grim Reaper, hey, coach, want to see you and bring your playbook with you. I'm looking like, yo, this thing real. Dead smack, full-blown conversation. Grim Reaper come and get 3 of them. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, here we go. So coming home to that every single day, it took me a while to adjust because I was just so used to that college life where we all here. If you didn't want to be here, then, you transfer out. Or, you had a guy transfer in from a JUCO or whatever it may be. But now money dictates everything. Cap hits dictate everything, which is money, essentially. And now it was a power struggle with Carl Peterson and Herm Edwards. It was, Gunther Cunningham having more power than Herm Edwards. It was bringing guys in and Herm Edwards looking like, where'd you come from? Gunther told me I was on the team. Carl Peterson told me I was on the team. And Herm Edwards just going with the flow. And I'm just looking like, wow, this dude isn't even getting a fair shake as the head coach of the team. So now you got to find all of that while still trying to still prepare to play against other superstars in the National Football League. Man, it was just one of the craziest things. But it was just a blessing to be able to have so many dudes like Eddie Kennison and Tony Gonzalez and Brian Waters, just pouring into me. Derek Johnson, who just my dog to this day. Jared Page, who was a rookie with me. Tamba Hali, who came from Penn State, Big Ten boy, where we had a chance to just kind of stay close, but at the same time learn from each other, have those guys pour into us to go and be successful. And I was a big part of that success that we went to the playoffs. My first year with the Kansas City Chiefs, went to the playoffs, and I was like, okay, cool. But the next 2 years were terrible. But learning how to be a pro for them guys was super important.
The politics and the business side of things, you learned on the job.
Yeah.
Right? Basically. And, I have some young fellas, and I've been through this. I played on 2 different teams. I played on a Super Bowl winning Saints, and then came back to the Texans. And I didn't know anybody who played in the NFL, I didn't know anybody who went through that process and everything that you mentioned.
Yep.
And now I'm like, when I'm helping a young fella out in high school or college, it's like, dude, you're so lucky to have this. I have this wealth of experience, getting cut, getting picked up, not getting drafted, and knowing these guys like yourself. I just think it's just so important now. Like, you have a son, your son plays ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's like I said he's lucky to have you because you can kind of guide him.
Right.
So I just think it's very important. And this is in any business. If I'm in the investment world, or if I'm in the entertainment business where I'm an actor, if I have a mentor who's been through it already, I'm able to avoid a lot of pitfalls that obviously you may not have had the luxury of having.
Yeah.
You had to learn on the go.
No, and I mean, I think, even for you, for D and myself, as we talk to these kids, like I tell these kids all the time, we are a cheat code. You're trying to accomplish something. We are literally a cheat code for you because, we've been through. We've had the hard falls. We've seen the business side. Yes. Do they tweak certain things? Yes. But at the end of the day, football is the same. It's the same. You know what I mean? Like, so you're not about to tell me something that I don't know. I'm going to tell you everything that you have no clue about. So, as I tell my son, as I tell the DBs that I work with from, grade school all the way to pro. Jalen Ramsey is a prime example. I trained him coming out of Florida State. And so it was just one of those things where he just soaked it all in. Literally, me seeing him work, me seeing him just embrace and soak everything that I was telling him in. I said from day one, I go, this man right here is going to be a $100 million cornerback. And we see the cats, right? And I mean, it sucks because we have to be, I tell guys all the time, if you're not honest with these kids, something wrong. We become hustlers. And when I hear people say I'm out here hustling, I don't like that term. Why? Because a hustler is taking advantage of people. If I'm helping you and I'm pouring into you, I am trying to help you grow who you are. I'm trying to help you have better and do better in life and to take advantage of everything that's out there in front of you, right? So there's a big difference in hustler and somebody being a mentor, a help, and assisting you, right? So, we're cheat codes. And for a lot of young cats, you guys have to understand that. There's experience, professional experience, that's coming to you. Don't let it go in one ear and out the other, because at the end of the day, we're trying to help you understand who you are, how to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, man, I'm just reflecting on so much. I'm still reflecting on, you going, just the timeline of you deciding that you want to be in sports broadcasting, and then just how having that in your head early, and because me and Mark talk about all the time, like, hey, having a plan. What do we say? If you tell a kid, hey, you need to have this certain major because if football doesn't work out, then, and as soon as you say if football doesn't work out, everything just went out the window. Versus you, before you even wanted to play football, because everybody's trying to put you as a linebacker, you knew that you wanted to do this. So when they aligned, you were able to kind of move forward simultaneously, versus people who don't know what they want to do, don't want to, all these other things. And then another thing, I'm very interested in just the locker room dynamic of because a lot of these guys are going into locker rooms, let's just say from high school to college, where they may not mesh, or
Right.
it may be, the people that they cling on to might not be the right group of guys to cling on to. So I just want to get from your experience, walking in as your own man, knowing what you wanted to do, and then walking into another world. How did you approach the day to day as far as building relationships, who to be around, and possibly who not to be around as a rookie?
Well, so for me, going from high school to college, it was one of those things where, as we all have done, you're so used to being around kids that you grew up playing, PAL, Metro, whatever football with, middle school, high school ball. You've been around them for years. Then now all of a sudden you step into a collegiate locker room to where you're looking like, okay, I may have played against you before, or you might have been on my all-star team, but I really don't know you. But at the same time, 98% of this locker room, I have no idea where you're from, who you are, who you play for, what you're capable of, your family background. So I tell my kids all the time, you don't pick your teammates. You don't. We don't pick our teammates. We learn how to be a great teammate simply because the respect factor. I respected every single teammate that I had. Whether you played, whether you were a practice squad, it didn't matter. I respected you because I didn't pick you. You know what I mean? And you didn't pick me. But let's make this experience that we're all about to have playing a game of football, being one of 11. When we step on the football field, let's make this thing great. And so, that was the biggest. It wasn't a big adjustment because I've always done it. But it was me going from high school to college, understanding. Wait a minute. I didn't grow up with these cats. So now I got to learn them. I have to learn what they like. I have to learn, who they are. I have to learn, the things that they're doing. Like, okay, can I click with that? Does it go with what, my beliefs or whatever it may be? If it doesn't, cool. I'm still going to love and respect. But then when they go to do what they do, I don't. A lot of my teammates went out. They were at bars. We have bars in West Lafayette at Purdue University that I ain't never stepped foot in. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't drink, didn't smoke. I didn't want to be around it. So for me, it was just, learning them from high school to college and treating them just like I've always treated my other teammates. And from high school to or from college to pro, it was just one of those things where I'm like, okay, I had to quickly find out, like, okay, wait a minute. This dynamic, like it was in college, isn't like it is now, because family, money, and it's money that we know is publicized, right? Like you had, back then we had handshakes, money coming from alumni, things of that nature, but you really didn't know. But at the end of the day now, okay, he signed a 4-year deal, he going through an extension, he renegotiating this and that, so it's just one of those things where I just loved and respected every teammate that I had. And that's why there's not one bad teammate. I don't think there's one guy that can say I bet I was a bad teammate to him, or I can say he was a bad teammate to me, because I respected you, I loved on you, and we went to battle together. I tell my guys all the time, you going to war with him. You better have his back, and he better have your back. We going to war. And some people might say, that's outlandish. You're going to play football. No, we're going to war. I'm going to hit somebody. They looking to hit me. Some people may go down. We're seeing the good times and the bad times in people's careers. I could be talking to you and you cut just like that. I could be playing against you the next week. We could be going to war and you tear your ACL, rupture your Achilles, whatever it may be, and you go down and you don't, so that's war. those are fun times. Those are experiences that we are going to have, that we're going to go through together, that we want to cherish that thing. And as a 39-year-old man, now I can sit back with my teammates and laugh about things that happen in practice, or things that happen in games, or things that happen in the locker room, because those are experiences that we don't ever want to change. We want to enjoy and go through them.
Man, there's a few things to what you just said. So, talking about going to battle with your teammates, I remember when I got cut, my last time I got released from the Texans, and this sticks in my head like it was yesterday. You know how that is, because you were a starter. You're a star player of the team. I was the guy just on the cusp of trying to make it. It was me going against Antoine Molden. It's just me versus him, and they chose him. And we're in the locker room. The last time I talked to you in person, you were like, I remember it, man. You came up, you said, Parse, all right, man. And you put your hand out, like a pound, like it was a respect thing, because you know how it is, man.
Yeah.
And this is my life.
Right.
I've worked 25 years to get here.
Yep.
And they tell you no, it's rejection. It's now, what am I going to do with my life? My family, everybody's looking up to me in my hometown. So you know how it is. It's like, what you're saying is the truth, man. I put my life and blood and sweat and tears into this.
Yep.
It's a very emotional time for guys. So you understand what it took to get there. So you're like, yo, I'm going to battle this dude.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's casualties of war. You get cut, you get rejected. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you on that. And then you mentioned a couple things, and I'm going to get into this question. In college, you mentioned staying humble, right? You mentioned staying away from alcohol and drugs, and then being a good teammate. So now, in a world where we got NIL, now what you said with money and all that good stuff in the NFL, now we're talking about open, publicized money, millions of dollars. What is your advice to a college guy in staying humble? What you said, staying humble, staying away from drugs and alcohol, and being a good teammate. How can someone navigate that at a younger age? What's your advice?
I mean, as I tell my guys now, this is a great time to be able to go to school, get your education for free. You leave, with no paper trail, but then you also leave with money in the bank. This is what's going on right now. I got a kid, at a university right now who was given $75,000, 18 years old, $75,000. You can pocket that. You can pocket, and you're a freshman. So at the end of the day, that money is going to go up, because that was the standard. That was just off of you getting a couple plays. That's the standard. So knowing and understanding business, knowing and understanding how to treat people, because you are your own product. You know what I mean? Like, how you walk around is how people perceive you. How you talk is what people expect from you. How you walk is what people expect from you. They expect that, right? So we can do it in a respectful manner. We don't have to be the guy that's drunk. We don't have to be the guy that's high. We don't have to be the guy that's abusing women, or abusing other people, or taking advantage of situations. Go enjoy the moment. Enjoy that time that you're in to represent that university, to go to war with your teammates and get paid doing it. You leave with no paper trail, and you leave with money in the bank. Whether or not you go to the NFL or not, some guys may never ever see the NFL, but you left with finances in your account. You know what I mean? And if you are blessed to be able to go play in the National Football League, now we're adding in more. But I think the biggest thing is, as I tell my guys all the time, the colleges, the programs, and the organizations, they're the puzzle. We're the pieces to the puzzle. Do we fit their puzzle? That's what we got to do. Are we working our tail off to make sure we're shaped and sculpted and molded to be the piece that they need for their puzzle? Are we doing that? We got to learn. I remember after my first couple of years, I was like, I don't need an agent. The agent I had was a doggone snake, and I knew from then on, I was like, no, I can represent myself. Because the way he was talking to people, the things that he was doing out in public, I was like, that's a representation of me. I don't want that. I got to detach from that. For people that was out doing bull crap, I detached from it. I didn't need to be around you. I'm not going to disrespect you. You do what you do. But when it's all said and done, I was like, okay, I'm the product. I got to show up. I got to show out. I got to do what I'm supposed to do, because, this is going to help me. And for all these college kids, man, enjoy the moment. Be respectful. And understand you can get paid by doing something you love. Do you ever have to go to the National Football League? Nope. is it a plus? Is it a bonus? Is it a blessing? Yes, it is. Leave with no paper trail. Leave with money in the bank, and do right with it. Do right by it. Treat people right. Do right. It will come back. It will come back to you if you do it right. So yeah, that's big.
Yeah, that is huge. And man, I remember graduating, and I had everyone's talking about, hey, I'm like, congrats, man, you graduated grad school, and you're a doctor. Like, yeah, man, but now I'm in debt, and I'm like, man, that's not a reality for
Yeah.
for a college athlete. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like that was the moment where I was like, oh, like, the scholarship is bigger than what I really thought it was. Like, I really didn't. If it just hit me my junior year, like, I really didn't go into this really understanding, like, I guess the head start I was given. Because I remember graduating, I had $2,000 as a senior,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, I really came out of college with this 2,000, this $2,000, and I was like, man, that's a win. Like, that's
Yeah.
the most, that's a huge win. So for these kids to be able to, to really be, I'm not gonna say financially stable, but get a substantial head start,
Yes.
than what a lot of people have. I think, but now you have to kind of push, you have to kind of mature earlier. So
Yeah.
now it's like you got to have that pro mindset, and that's what me and Mark try to tell guys. Like, it's like your pro mindset has to start today.
Yeah.
Whatever age you are, if you're 16 trying to get an offer, like, your pro mindset has to start today. And then just listening to you, having that pro mindset from, having you and your dad watching film. And I'm just remembering, I'm like, man, how did he even record that back then? Like,
Yeah.
when did you go to, what years were you in high school?
So I graduated in 2003. So we had a camcorder, had VHS, everything. So we were recording like that, putting a little cassette in the big VHS.
Yeah. But just the dedication earlier on to getting better today. Like, hey, I know the game just ended, but today, like right now, we're gonna figure this out. And I don't think that's what a lot of kids necessarily realize is they're used to the highlight, the finished product, but they don't really understand the dedication that you had, from an early age, man. So definitely salute to that. That's how I'm really just amazed by the focus that you were able to maintain, because I realized a lot of times it's not about who's the best, it's who lasted the longest.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you've seen stories like that where, man, that kid could run, throw, jump, and pass, but he didn't graduate, or he didn't have the grades. And I'm here. So that's just my thought process on your journey, man. So thank you.
No, that's good. And D, I would say, for a lot of kids, they just, I think the biggest thing what a lot of kids don't understand, and this is what I try to pound into my guys, you got to understand. I think one of the biggest things that help kids try to figure it out, one of the first things you need to do is, it's easy to say, I want a full ride scholarship. Because when kids see other kids on Twitter and Instagram talking about blessed to receive an offer from such and such university, that right there is like, okay, wait a minute, I want that. And they don't understand, okay, the work that was put in. But I think too, once again, it's easy to say it. It's harder to do it. It's hard to go out there. And for kids, they don't understand that, okay, if this offer means something, if it's a hard offer, if it means something, that's an investment that they're putting into you. That's an investment. So let's look at it like that. Now, let's break down that investment to be able to go to school for free academically. And of course, you're playing football, you're going to bring money to the university or whatever it may be. But let's just look at the academics. How much does it cost per year? And I always use Vanderbilt with me being in Nashville. It's $60,000 plus to go to Vanderbilt a year. So just do the math. If you're out of state, do the math. Just do the math. Understand that that's an investment that program is putting into you. They're investing into you to come and do something for them, right? Like, so I think more and more kids need to see that and do that, and not just look at, okay, I just want to go play football. I just want to go get an offer. Well, we all can say, I want to offer. I want to offer. Well, what are you doing to accomplish, to achieve that offer? Are you doing anything to be a full ride scholarship guy? Are you doing anything to make them say, okay, no, we're going to put you at the top of the recruiting board? Are you doing anything? How do you look compared to him? Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, they're comparing apples to apples. Okay, hold on. Running, What do you offer? What do you offer? I tell my son all the time, bro, what do you offer in the team right now? He about to be a junior. I tell him now. I'm like, bro, you either gonna be serious about it or you need to go right now and you need to be working every day because you need to get ready to just go to school for academics. Ain't no school gonna come to you. Nobody coming to you. If you don't offer them nothing, are you a weight room guy where you're encouraging? Are you encouraging? Are you bringing more out of your teammates? Are you doing more in the weight room? Are you doing more on the practice field? How are you studying? Do you understand film? When you see the film, are you able to help the other players understand it more? Are you bringing other people along? Do you increase and help their playing ability? Are you out there on the field playing with a clear mind? Are you thinking when you play? Whatever it may be. We got to understand the investment, guys. They are investing in you to come accomplish something for them.
Dude, BP, I'm just, it's one of those lessons that you learn as a man, especially as you get older.
Right.
What is your value?
Yep.
Like, what is the value? What value are you creating for others?
Yep.
Especially those who are buying from you or, like you said, investing in you.
Yep.
And that's the real truth. It's like, you can't be entitled as a guy. And you learn that as you get older, nobody cares.
Yeah.
What can you do for me? What value? How are you solving my problems? If I'm a coach at Vanderbilt, if I'm a coach anywhere, I'm trying to put food on my table.
Yeah.
Right? So I need somebody who's going to come in here like you were focused. I'm coming here to accomplish this mission, this job. And I guarantee you helped your play, help your DB coach or your DC.
Yep.
So that's a great mindset, man. And I want to make sure that I get this out there too. Super Bowl year. So I've learned, just to let you know, so when I played in the league and then after ball, I worked certain jobs. I worked for different industries, different companies. And my mind goes back to the efficiency and how a great organization is supposed to be run, right? Everybody's doing their job. It's a great system. They have good processes. I worked for some bad companies, some bad, and I worked for some good ones. And one thing with the Saints, I'm like, dude, I know what a well-oiled machine is supposed to run like, right? Yep. And it's helped me in my life. So I really credit football for helping me with that. Your Super Bowl year, man, like, how was that experience and how has it affected you in your life when it just comes through a great, well-oiled run organization, How are you leveraging that in your life today?
Well, to be honest with you, Parse, I can honestly say, I'm one of them dudes where I love the game. I love the physical part of the game. I love studying. I will go back. And if we could still play this game mentally, I would be playing still to this day, right? But, obviously the physical part, we got to go out there and accomplish. So when we look at all of the accomplishment, when we look at that Super Bowl year, it was just one of those things where we all came together and we was like, yo, like, nobody's going to stop us. We literally, I remember we played the Dallas Cowboys on a Sunday. We had a players only meeting on a Monday, and it was just a come to Jesus, and we were checking everybody in the room. In Baltimore, we had had a committee. It was myself, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Haloti Nada, Terrell Suggs. Man, we had Anquan Bolden, Joe Flacco, just so many dudes just on that panel where we were like, yo, we got to get on the same page. The Dallas Cowboys still run to this day. They ran for 200 and I think it was 48 yards, if I'm not mistaken. And we were like, yo, man, this can't happen again. So we had that players only meeting on Monday. After the players only meeting on Monday, we all sat in that locker room and we go, we're winning the Super Bowl. We're winning the Super Bowl. There's not one team that's going to stop us. And we went on to continue to win the Super Bowl. So that's a great accomplishment. That's definitely a blessing. I can honestly say, coming to the National Football League, I have never expected to win a Super Bowl. I just wanted to play football. I love the game so much. I wanted to play as long as I could. I wanted to try to make as much money as I could, right? And I will play for peanuts because I just love the physical part of the game. So as far as leveraging, right? Like I hear people be like, "Oh, Bernard Pollard, Super Bowl champion." That don't really, I say like you got to call me champ for a reason, or you got to call me champ. Make sure you call me champ. And I just say that bullcrapping with people laughing. But I can honestly say I've never worn my Super Bowl ring. I don't ever intend on wearing it. I actually got it. I got it size bigger so that I would never ever wear it. As far as trophies and things of that nature. I was just a couple weeks ago, my daughter's birthday, and she had 14-year-olds over here. And I was cleaning out, cleaning out the billiard room and opened up one of the closets, and it had a lot of my memorabilia and things of that nature. And I just sat and just went through that. right? And it was from Super Bowls, from my rookie year, from all kind of stuff. That's the moment I enjoy, right? Like I don't like, and I'm not coming down on anybody that wants to wear a ring, wants to, always flaunt whatever. I'm not. That's not me, right? I'm not coming down on you. But these times when you're done and it's all over with, a highlight is a highlight. Like I never watched my highlight in high school. I never watched my highlights in college. I never watched my highlights in pro. I never watched them while I was playing. Now, as my kids get older, and my youngest son, who about to be 8 tomorrow, he's sitting, he'll watch highlights of me. And he's like, Dad, you remember this play? Dad, these are the time when you are finally done, when you can sit back and go, oh, snaps. Look what I did in high school. Look what I did in college. Look what I did in the pros. Looking at the pictures and all the big, you remember in Houston, when we go to the cafeteria, they had the posters on the side and everything else. I had a couple posters that they, that they had of me. Those are the moments, that I can look back now and be like, man, I enjoyed the moment while I was in the moment, but now I get a chance to just sit and be like, oh, snaps, that was a blessing. And so, Baltimore is one of the, I think, and everybody's going to say that won a Super Bowl, they were the best organization. I think Baltimore is by far the best organization in the National Football League. I don't think you get a better owner than Mr. Bushati. Mr. Bushati I'm talking about, they call it the castle. He makes sure the players got what they need, whatever they want, when they want it, how they want it. And him and his wife, they do not hold back. They want to make sure everybody, when you come to that organization, you have a great time, you have a great experience. Obviously, we understand business is business. They're going to do whatever they can to protect the bottom line. We get that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to organization, food, people, man, you don't get any better than the Baltimore Ravens.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Do you want to conclude it?
Yeah, and I mean, that goes into my kind of final question, man, the conclusion, because I feel like 99% of sports stories, don't really end on the note that we wanted to at all. Even guys who have Super Bowl success, still feel like the game cheated them or they didn't get enough out of their career. But it seems like, you were really at peace with that moment. Can you take us through, did you retire from the game, or was there a moment where the game kind of let you know that you should start retiring?
Man, D, that's man, you about to bring up some emotions, man. Looking at this, D, in 2014, I ruptured my Achilles. We were playing the Cleveland Browns, October 5th, 2014. I remember coming off, they just scored. The play before they scored, they ran an in route in the back of the end zone, and I was going to cover it, but I remember feeling a sharp pain, but it was sharp. It was like somebody kind of cut me a little bit, but I was like, okay, well, I felt pain before, whatever, I'll be all right. So they scored a touchdown, and I went to go block the extra point. And for a lot of people, they don't understand, the more you offer to a football team. I was able to block punts, and I was able to block field goals. I put pressure on punters. I put pressure on kickers. So I was going to come off the edge to block the extra point, and pop! I thought Mike Griffin stepped on my leg. So I literally went down. I thought he stepped on the back of my ankle. I went down. I turned around. I go, Mike, what the crap you doing? And nobody was there. And I tried to get up to go walk, had nothing. I just fell right back down. So it was just one of those things where I cried like a baby. And for me, I'm a spiritual guy, man. I knew God was calling my career to come to an end. That was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Right. Like, and for me, man, I cried like a baby. I told the trainers, let me limp all the way to the end zone or to the locker room. We went in, they got my wife from the stands, and she came in and she knew what happened and she just cried. I fought it. You know what I mean? Like I fought it for so long. I was back running in 7.5, 8 months. I was like, I'm getting this. And it was just one of those things where I knew God was trying to get my attention. And so I was like, I'm coming back. I'm playing. I told the Titans, I was like, I do not want to come back to this organization. I was like, it was bad. And I mean, this is one of the worst organizations at that time that I've seen, that I've been a part of. And I was like, I'm coming back. And so I told them, I said, I don't want to come back here. Please release me. So after we negotiated and they didn't want to release me, But they finally was like, okay, we'll grant your wishes. Now it's dumb on my end because I had $4.5 million that I was going to make. So I put that money aside, bet on myself. And I would have had an injury settlement, turned around, I had a contract offer on the table from the Oakland Raiders. So the Oakland Raiders, we did everything, went through all the process of everything. I remember Mr. Robinson put the paper on the contract on the table. It was like, Bernard, this is the contract. I negotiated. I was my own agent, negotiated everything. So he was like, I was picked up a pen to go sign it. Right, literally, it was like a movie. I'm picking the pen up to go sign. Door opens. The trainer said, "Hey, can you hold on real quick?" Called the general manager out. They came back in. He go, Bernard, our general. He was like, our head trainer thinks that because you came back so quick that you overcompensated and you're going to tear your other Achilles. So let's hold off real quick. I'm talking about not even 72 hours later, I ruptured my right Achilles. Literally ruptured my right Achilles. And it's that thing where I'm at peace because I know God was calling me to do something bigger. But at the same time, the competition, and I think you guys can attest to this, you still want that competition. You miss that. When we leave the game, we miss it. But, at the end of the day, what I'm doing now is much bigger than what I did on the football field. So am I at peace? Yes and no. And this is something that I struggle and battle with. But I'm not, like, when I say battle, it's not like I need the game. So many guys need the locker room. They need the game. I don't need the game. I miss it, but I'm okay with missing it. So as I would tell so many players, get all of you can out of this. If that means being the best high school player that you can be, go do everything you can to be the best. If that means you just want to go to college and be the best college player you can be, the collegiate player you can be, go be the best collegiate player that you can be. If that means you get an opportunity and blessed to play in the National Football League or any other pro league that you get to play in, go take advantage of it, because when it's done, it is done. It really is. We've seen a lot of stuff where Jamal Adams went to the Jets facility. He was locked out. That's literally what happens to 95% of the guys. Unless you're a Ray Lewis or some guys like that, where you can step to a facility and go there any day of the week. When you go to that facility, you got to go in like the general population. You ain't walking through that door no more where players walk through. You got to go through and check in. You ain't who you used to be. You don't get the benefits and the luxuries that you got for most people that you got when you played. So when it's done, it's done. And like I said, I'm at peace, but I'm not at peace. But I'm blessed and I'm thankful to have had the opportunities and to meet the people, my teammates, the coaches and things of that nature, and the fans, because it's just truly a blessing to be able to experience all of that.
Yes, sir, man. BP, man, I really appreciate you. And I actually get chills when I hear, guys' stories. And it's my first time listening and hearing your story. So again, thank you, man. I believe this is going to change a lot of lives all around the world. We have connections in Europe, now Japan, and all over the US. So I really appreciate this, man. Thank you for being on the show.
Man, thank you guys for having me, man.
Yes,
sir. Yeah, thank you. And like you said, it's going to help out a lot of people from recruiting to mindset. But one thing I will say, anybody watching this, is that you don't see many hitters in today's game. A lot of finesse in today's football game. So if you want to stand out, I will say, like the beginning of time, if you can hit, if you can seek and destroy, that is the best way to make sure your highlight tape, is different than the other guys. So there's a lot that I will take from it, and then our audience will take from this interview. So again, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, D.
Hey, where can they follow you on social media?
Yes.
Man, look, I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm a fool, man. I do stuff with NASCAR and everything else. So I'm Crushboy at Crushboy31. And obviously I train DBs, and as you guys are doing. And look, I'm at BP 31 training. It's good to hear from different guys. It's good to hear, good to see different techniques and understanding, because not everybody teaches things the same. And so it's always good to have different things in your tool belt to be able to utilize, in different, parts of the game. So, that's what I do. That's where you can find me. If not, I'm cool. You know what I mean? Like, I love what I do. It's truly a blessing